Hi guys, welcome back to my booktube channel. My name's Tolani and you're watching Tea Time with T Read. So hi guys, welcome back. If you're new here, hello, how you doing? If you've been here before, hello, how you doing? If you've been here before and wondering where the flip have you been, ouch. On a serious note, welcome back. It's been a long time since I filmed. I did attempt to film a few times, but it never went to plan. Anyway, I'm back now, and I'm back for good, and I have so many plans for this channel to grow, and I have read a lot of books this year. So what I decided to do was randomly put all the books I've read into a jar, drag them out, so I could limit the amount of books I spoke about in this video. Okay, so as you can see by the title, this book is called an Amass of Reviews and Stories I Consumed, and it is inspired by one of the books I'm going to be talking about in this video, which is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. And so yeah, let's get back into it. Sit back, relax, grab yourself some tea, although it's quite hot today. Maybe get a water, an iced tea, some juice, some sangria, and enjoy today's video. Bye. So the first book I'm going to talk about is obviously An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson, since it has inspired today's title. Okay, so An Enchantment of Ravens follows a young lady rather, and her name is Isabel. Now in this world, craft is revered by the Fae, and craft is paintings, poetry, writing, tailoring, so clothing, cooking, etc, etc, because the Fae cannot create craft. And when I say I can't, I don't mean they can't do it. They cannot, or they will die. Anyway, Isabel, she is an artist. She is a very well-known artist. Her art is like superior to all the other artists. And one day she is commissioned to draw a portrait of a Fae prince. And basically, she draws this portrait. It's beautiful. They have a jolly good time together. And this Fae prince, Rook, fairies, they're very arrogant, and he decides to unveil the portrait for the first time in front of his court. However, Isabel has made the grave mistake of painting human sorrow into his eyes. And so what happens is he unveils the portrait, and now his whole court is questioning his authority because that is seen as a weakness. So one day, my man comes banging down doors at like 2 a.m. and he's like, pack your stuff, package your load, you're coming with me. And she's like, bruv, like, where are we going? And he's like, you're coming with me, you violated, man, are you dumb? Like, how could you betray me like that? And she's like, what on earth are you talking about? True say, I don't know what you're talking about. And True say, she does not know what he's talking about. And essentially, he's like, no, we have to go now. You are going to be trialed in front of my court. And he whisks her away to the Autumnlands. And from there, we follow them on this mad journey. So the reason I decided to finally pick up this book, because it came out like last year, is because it is constantly compared to ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And I am ACOTAR trash. I am ACOTAR trash. Okay, so I thought if this book is anything like ACOTAR, I am going to be An Enchantment of Ravens trash. However, I am not An Enchantment of Ravens trash because I'm sorry, I didn't enjoy this book. Okay, but before I get into the things I didn't like about this book, let me start with positive energy, a sprinkle of positive energy. So the first thing I really liked about this book, I really enjoyed how the Fae were depicted. I think Margaret does a splendid job indeed. No, I think she does a really good job on putting her own twist on the Fae, because they are not romanticized, and I love that they're not, because in most of the books you read about Fae, they are romanticized. They do not have human emotion, apart from, let's say, 2. You can read and find out who they are. They have no human emotion. They cannot create craft, which poses a very interesting question about their existence and why they can't do that, and what is missing from them to be able to create, since they can't process human emotions. I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. I thought it was really well done, and I loved it. A second thing I really enjoyed about this book is the writing. I didn't like this book, but the writing has nothing to do with it, because I think Margaret is actually a really good writer, in my opinion. I think the book was very Fae-like, if that makes any sense. It was really beautifully written, very descriptive. The words were so intricately woven together. It was really lovely, like honestly, I really enjoyed the writing. However, However, there were a few things I didn't like about this book at all, and unfortunately they won out over the things I really did like about this book. Firstly, I would just like to talk about Isabel and Isabel's characterization for 1 second. Now, I'm not saying you can't evolve and you can't change your mind, because of course you will never be the same person that you once were. I wasn't expecting her to stay completely the same from start to finish of the book. Of course not, because maybe that would be unrealistic in itself. However, I felt like some of the changes that she made were very too frequent, too inconsistent. Maybe not inconsistent, but happening too quickly, and it wasn't flowing well with the story. Because at the start of the book, she's very headstrong. She's very like headstrong in her convictions. She's like, this is how I feel, and nothing can change my mind. And again, I'm reiterating that. Of course, you can change your mind. Of course, I love when characters evolve, but I didn't like the way it was done. That's just my opinion. And I don't want to elaborate too much because I will give it the plot away, but just read the book and then we can discuss down in the comments below. The second thing I didn't like about this book is that the romance overshadowed the whole plot. This book, had so much potential. I'm not even kidding. I actually found the world very interesting. I actually did. Also, we focused too much on, obviously it's Isabel and Brooke's story, but like their story overtook the story to the point where, is this what are we doing? What are we doing here, Margaret? Like, honestly, it overshadowed so many parts of the book. And if the romance had taken a seat back, I feel like other aspects of the story would have really had a time to shine. For example, there are so many interesting characters in this book. Gadfly, apart from Isabel and Brooke, is probably who we see the most, and he is so intriguing. I would have really liked to know more behind his motivations, why he did what he did, about his planning, why he decided this needed to take place. I really liked him. He's cunning, he's manipulative, and I really enjoyed him because I stand these manipulative, scheming characters. Also, Emma has a really interesting backstory as well, with the drinking, with why she does what she does as her job, what happened to her sister, how Isabel came to be under her care. That was an interesting backstory. The twins, so Isabel has these younger siblings. They used to be cows and they got turned into children. They are so lit. Like, I'm not even joking. They are so lit, yeah. I would have read a book just of them cussing Emma and Isabel. Like, they were really interesting. Like, there were so many other interesting characters. Again, there's the lady, I don't want to say who she is. There's another Faye, whom I found really interesting as well. Like, there was just, the world could have been delved into more, there was just so much that I think took a backseat just to accommodate for Isabel and Brooke's romance, and I wasn't a fan of it. And finally, the big bad of this book was piss poor. I'm so sorry. He was not a real contender to this big bad title. Like, the way he was spoken about, I thought, he is going to be iconic. He was not even close to iconic. He was such a flop. Like, I thought we were getting, Voldemort, Cersei Lannister, like, not even Joffrey, because Joffrey's I just thought we were getting a big bad, a Ramsay. And we didn't get that at all. We didn't get that at all. It was disappointing, to say the least. I didn't enjoy this book. I gave it a 3 stars on Goodreads, but really I'm in a 2.5. No lie. So, yeah. The next book I am going to talk about is actually a series, and I'm going to be reviewing the whole series. After my final year exams for my first year of university, I was so bored, and I was on Libby, and I saw some of the books on there, so I said, okay, let me give this a gander, even though it's quite old and no one on booktube has spoken about it for a long time. And that is the Fallen Kingdom series by Rhodes. Now, let me just first explain the premise of the book. So Fallen Kingdoms, it's in the title, it's about fallen kingdoms. There's these 3 kingdoms and they're basically on the verge of the war. There's, political intrigue, there's danger, there's betrayal, there's adventure, there's romance, and it's a fantasy series, and it is really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this book. So the first thing I want to say about Fallen Kingdoms, there's 6 books in the series. I didn't like any of the main characters until book 3, book 4, and I'm being very serious right now. I thought they were very ignorant, very closed-minded. They just used to piss me off. I'd be on the verge of taking to one of them, and then they just do some dumb, just stupid things. And I'm like, I cannot stand this nonsense. I cannot stand stupidity. Like, for example, there were people that I almost liked, like Cleo, but then it just didn't work because she'll make a comment and I'm like, can't you see it from the other person's point of view? The only person I thought that was justified in their bitterness in the first book, the first few books, is obviously Jonas and the Pelagians, but you won't understand until you read the story because it's quite a big part of the plot and I don't want to give it away. Okay, so I didn't like any of the characters right until book 3, and all the characters I did like were like side pieces, like Theon, and it just hurts too much to talk about, so we're not gonna go there. We're not gonna go there. Things I enjoyed. I really enjoyed the plot of this book. The fact that I kept on reading, even though I didn't like the characters, says a lot, especially for me because I'm quite a character driven person. So even if the plot is a bit dead, and I really love the characters, I will continue to read it because I just want my babies to be okay. But I didn't really like the characters, but I kept on reading because I really enjoyed the plot. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I wanted to know how certain issues were going to be resolved. Like, we at war, kids, and I want to know, how is this war going to end? What are we going to do? My favourite storyline was definitely Erasmus, then Limeros, and then the Pelagian. But obviously because I really enjoy like court settings because of the politics and the manipulativeness because of the politics that goes on and the scheming and things like that. So I really enjoy court settings and I found it really interesting. One of my favourite characters is King Gaius because he is such a good villain. He is my manipulative, conniving, cunning king, and I stand. He's horrible and I hate his guts, but I love to hate him, and he is so good at flipping the narrative. Like, I'm the reader, right? I know his motivations, but sometimes when he's interacting with other characters and he's spinning his web of lies, I'm like, you know what? I believe you. I know you're lying and I believe you. That's how good he is, because he really knows how to toy with people's emotions, and I honestly stand. So yeah, Fallen Kingdoms, it's a great fantasy series if you want something quick, because I flew through it. They're not long at all, and I really enjoyed it. It's just a quick read. So the third book I want to talk to you guys about today is going to get me in my feelings. I wasn't on booktube, even though I was on booktube, but I wasn't a booktuber when this book was at its peak. So I didn't read it, right? I saw it on Libby and I decided to give it a gander, and it wrecked me to pieces, and that is the beautiful We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Okay, so We Were Liars is about an extremely rich family, the Sinclairs, you know? So it's about the Sinclairs, and they own this private island, and every single summer they go to this private island, and there's like, they're all part of the same family, but they're branches. So you have the grandfather, and then the grandfather has 3 daughters, and then the 3 daughters have all their kids. Okay, cool. So we are following a group of 4 teenagers, and they call themselves the Liars. And the Liars, so we see them every single summer, and there is one particular summer where their friendship becomes destructive, and something happens, something very tragic, something huge, and I think that is all I should tell you. Okay, so We Were Liars. I have marked this to read 3 years ago, and I'm so glad I finally read it, and I'm so glad I knew nothing about this book, because I feel like if I knew a bit about this book, I would have actually guessed what happened. However, I guessed every single thing but what actually occurred, and it shook me to my very core. If I still have the picture, I'm going to insert a picture here about me crying my eyes out when I finished this book. Okay, so this book, definitely go into it knowing nothing. Don't read the blurb, just start reading the book. Like, I promise you, that is the best way to go into this book, knowing absolutely nothing. All you need to know is what I told you. It's about a very rich family, and there's a group of friends we're following called the Liars. It was fantastic. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. this is why. Lockhart, she is bloody brilliant. I'm sorry. Okay, so when I first read this, the main person we're following, even though we follow the liars, we're following them through Cadence. She is our narrator. Now, I thought Cadence was a bit unseasoned. I'm not gonna lie, like, I thought she was very unseasoned. Not very unseasoned, but I thought she was unseasoned. Like, I thought she's a bit not boring, but just a bit bland. She's not my cup of tea, and I didn't really think I cared about these characters. The liars I was reading just because of the plot. I wanted to know what happened. I really wanted to figure out this mystery. Until we get to a turning point in the novel, and you're like, I take it back, I take it back, I take it back. I do care, and you're shouting at the book, I care, I do bloody care. Because I did. And I think what I love about this book and the writing is that I started to care about these characters and I didn't even realize that I cared about them until this turning point occurs. And that is the sign of a truly gifted writer, how she could do that. And I was like, oh my god, that my heart was beating, I was bawling. I was like, absolutely not. So that was one thing I loved about, I just love so many things about this book. I think I might have to film like a separate review, or maybe write one, a full one on Goodreads, because all I wrote was like a quote from the book and 5 out of 5 stars. But I really enjoyed We Were Liars. I loved it so much. I thought the writing again was absolutely beautiful. Lockhart, she truly has a way with words, particularly personification. Like when there's the first 2 pages, you read, and it gets to this point, and we're like, what the fuck? I was like, you did not just start the book like that. I was like, what the actual fuck? It's not until you carry on reading that you're like, oh, I get it now. I see what you did. But yeah, I really enjoyed We Were Liars. 5 out of 5 stars, and I highly, highly, highly recommend. If you want to bawl your eyes out, if you're feeling sad but you want an excuse to cry without crying for what you actually want to cry about, read this book. Okay. The 4th and final book I want to talk to you about today is a book that is very close to my heart. Very close to my heart, okay? I love it. It was a Christmas gift, and I've reread it about 4 times this year already. How Do You Like Me Now by Holly Bourne. Okay, I'm just going to actually read the blurb for you before I explain what this book is about. This blurb is the reason I asked for this book. Turning 30 is like playing musical chairs. The music stops and everyone just marries whoever they happen to be sitting on. Okay, so this book focuses on a woman named Tori Bailey. She's a 30-something-year-old, and she is a highly successful author of her self-help book. Like, when I say highly successful, she is world-renowned, people. International bestseller. She sold like millions of copies, and she's living in London. She appears to have the perfect life. She has like a boyfriend of 7 years, a very swanky flat in London, good friends, she's rich, she's living her life, she's living her best life. However, everything is not what it seems. Everyone around her is settling down, getting married, having babies, getting engaged, and her own boyfriend doesn't even want to speak about these things with her, and they've been together 7 years. When her best friend Dee falls in love, and this is the one person whom she shared solidarity with, whom understood her perspective and where she was coming from on certain issues, her whole world starts to fall apart. Now, when I first read the blurb of this book, I just thought it was going to be a funny coming-of-age story about women in their 30s, much like one of my favourite books called Always the Bridesmaids by Lindsey, Kelk. However, this book, whilst it is kind of a funny story, it is really funny, it is so much more than that, okay? It deals with so many issues. It deals with emotional abuse. It deals with how society views women, and how if women aren't married, they're kind of seen as less. And it also focuses on society and how society pressurizes women to enter that domestic sphere of life. So, having kids, getting married, etc., and how no matter what you accomplish, you're always seen as kind of a loser if you're not married, as a woman, that is. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very important. And while sometimes reading some of these things are triggering, so by the way, trigger warning, yeah, are triggering, I think it was a really important read. And this is a story where I don't particularly love Tori. Like, I think she's okay. She is definitely a good person. She's just trying her best. But there are times where I thought she could be a bit hypocritical, or she really annoyed me. But again, I still wanted her to win. I was still rooting for her because I understood what she was going through and I sympathized with her. And I thought it was fantastic. The book was very funny. I feel like the emotional abuse, etc., was dealt with very tastefully. And I love how I like the topics that were broached. I really love it and I highly recommend it. So that is it. Those are the 4 books that I've discussed with you in this video. I really enjoyed filming this for you guys. I have so many more book reviews, movie reviews, TV reviews, challenges and games to film for you, and I'm really excited. So thank you so much guys for watching my booktube channel. I am going to be back every single week now with new content just for you guys. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. I'm Tolani and you have been watching Tea Time with T Reads.